Hello, hello, and welcome. This is Dr. Jennifer Fleming, and this is PRM 522 Best Practices in Project Management. All right, so we want to welcome you to our first meeting and welcome you to St. Leo University. Okay, all right, so let's get started. Many of you, I glanced at the list earlier, many of you have been in my course before, so you are familiar with the routine. So that is a good thing. And we've got a small class, but that's okay. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay? All right. All right. So as I indicated earlier, this is Dr. Jennifer Fleming, and I've been with St. Leo for a few years after having come out of the private industry. And so I've worked in a wide variety of settings. And so many of you are already familiar with that: project management, business process management, quality assurance, working from companies like, well, it would have been called Digital Equipment Corporation, but you probably just know them as HP, AT&T, Delta, and Coca-Cola. And so those are just some of the companies that I worked with um, that have given me good insight and work experience to help you understand some of the best practices that exist within traditional project management as well as agile methods. So hopefully we can share some of those experiences and learnings and help you get prepared for a strong career. All right, so moving forward. All right, so most of this course, and I've had the pleasure of having learned from our author. Actually, he came and he was a guest lecturer at Georgia State Executive MBA program a while back, and so we had the pleasure of learning from them directly. So a lot of the information and content that we're covering comes from many of the scenarios that he shared with us, and so we hope that you find them beneficial. There's a lot of information that you find in this particular course that is timeless, and so that's one of the reasons why I like this course, is because it is a timeless experience. Um, Business processes, there are some components that are static. In other words, they exist in any and every industry, in any every time frame. Okay, and then there's some that are dynamic that will change as business needs and customers' preferences change. Okay, but there are certain elements that are timeless, and so it is those types of things that we generally try to address in this course utilizing case analysis. And so you'll see in your case analysis assignments some scenarios that describe some of the interactions that are occurring within a business, and you'll get a wide variety of things. It's not always a happy path. You'll hear about some challenges that are occurring between different people, different departments, and things of that nature. You'll also hear about um, things that people like, things that people find frustrating. Okay, and some of you may be able to relate to that. For example, you will find that there's an area where they talk about customer involvement in the development of business requirements. Well, this is always a challenging experience because sometimes some companies are very closed-minded and they try to keep the customers away from the technical team. And there are other companies that are rather open and fluid, and they readily engage the customers in their projects and things of that nature. And so you'll see different perspectives occurring there. And another example, if you look at it from the employee side of things, you'll see there's a case that discusses how people feel about managing, and promotion opportunities and things of that nature. You've got different types of employees. You've got some employees that are technical oriented, and they really like to get their hands dirty and get really into the nuts and bolts, and they're really techies and things of that nature. They may not necessarily subscribe or even want to be a people manager. Okay, and so you have to think about career opportunities and business ladders that you can offer them that don't necessarily have that particular responsibility because it's viewed as a burden to them. And so, as I indicated earlier, there's some timeless components that exist within um, our course book and within our case book and within this course that can be applied in a wide variety of settings, because we're not always looking at, if you will, just the project scheduling component. Now we're looking at the human aspect, and we're looking at it from a wide variety of perspectives. And so that's what you can expect to see in this course. There are no software requirements, there's no calculations. It's all situational analysis, looking at, as I indicated earlier, the dynamics that are occurring within different companies and then making some decisions based on all of your other learnings and things that you may have picked up from your MBA foundational courses, human relations, just understanding people, things of that nature. And so there are a wide variety of opportunities for you to examine things, look at what the author has presented to you. And he's also presented to you best practices, and then look at the situation, and then based on the best practices that he's presented to you, discover what's the true answer, what's the root cause problem, and what's the true answer that needs to be addressed in order to move them forward and get them through this difficult situation. So that's what you can expect to see as you move forward through the course and do those case analysis assignments. Okay? All right, so that's what you're going to have. And so be prepared, because there's a little bit of reading. It's not a whole lot of reading in the first couple of modules, but there's a little bit of reading. Okay? Now, a couple of things to note. So I'm going to go ahead and mention it now. When we get closer towards the end of the course, there is a substantive amount of reading to prepare you for the final project. Now, the final project is a classic case study, and it's about the Space Shuttle Challenger experience. And so if you want to move forward, and if there's any of you that feel like you might be time constrained as we get toward the end of the course, then go ahead and start to peruse that one now. You might say, hey, I'll just read maybe a page or two a week in advance. That way, by the time you get to Module 8, you will have at least read it maybe even once or twice, okay? Because it's a lengthy case, and will give you an opportunity to comfortably read it so that you can be prepared for it. Okay, so that's something to consider as we're going through the course, because again, the first a couple of cases are pretty small, but once you get towards that last case, it's pretty large. And so if you want to go ahead, and for those of you again who are time constrained, or if you have some extra time and you want to try to move ahead, go ahead and start reading the Space Shuttle Challenger case study, because that is one that is sizable, and there's a formidable amount of analysis that's going to be required when you get to Module 8. Okay? All right, so let's talk about what's coming up. All right, so you've got the Continental Computer Corporation in Module 2, and that's your first case analysis. And so they're giving you ample time. So you've got the full week of Module 1 and you got Module 2 to read through this, so you can get prepared for what it feels like to read a case and do a case analysis. Okay? So the questions are at the end of the case, and so look through your book and you'll see the case questions in there. Okay? And so let me give you a quick example. So it may give you, there may be an opportunity for you to make a decision as to whether or not a behavior that's occurring within the company is normal. Okay? For example, in Continental Computer Corporation, they say, is it normal for people to have two sets of books when they're doing projects? Okay? And so it asks you that question based on your initial reading, reference, and your review of the case. You need to answer that question. Okay? And so we've got multiple questions, so I'm not worried about it. But it is normal, okay, for people to have multiple books, if you will, when they are running a project within a corporation. Okay, and again, as you read through the case and you read your reference information, you will learn that. But this is what I mean by Kersner introducing best practices to you, because some people, if you didn't have that information, it might be alarming to you to learn that, yeah, people do have those. They have multiple books, if you will, but for a variety of reasons, and none of which are clandestine or fraudulent. Okay, they are simply repurposing the data or presenting the data in different views based on the need of the stakeholder that has it. Okay, and so it's quite common. You may have already experienced this within your own companies. If not, you may experience it in the future. Okay, and so that's one of the things that you'll learn as you go through Continental Computer Corporation. Okay, so again, this is the type of case analysis that you should expect to see as you go through this course. We hope that you find the entire experience beneficial, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Okay, now again, if you are one of those individuals that is planning to sit for the PMP in the future, go ahead and start to download that handbook, the PMI handbook. and prepare yourself, develop some sort of study strategy for gaining the knowledge that you need for each one of those components. Okay, and you may also engage in, they have a couple of different options. They have free options on the website and they have paid options. It's up to you depending on your level of interest or your immediate need for the certification preparations. But go ahead and figure out, if you will, some options for how you're going to approach this exam. Now, I say this because remember we have different types of learners, okay? And so there's some individuals that can simply sit down, read the entire PMBOK cover to cover 3 or 4 times, and then they can sit for the exam, okay? Others need a little bit more practice in doing timed exercises and things of that nature. And so they also need a little bit of practice in learning terminology, utilizing flashcards and things of that nature. Figure out what works best for you and develop a strategy for that so that you don't create unnecessary anxiety if that's something that you're seeking to do. Okay, so again, sit down, read through the handbook, figure out what works best for you, set a exam date that is far in advance so that you have plenty of time to read through it, practice the quizzes, practice the exams, learn your vocabulary and things of that nature at a rate, at a pace that is comfortable. Okay? All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, so I think that covers everything that I wanted to present to you for our first meeting. So again, in this course, we've got case analysis. There's no project scheduling software. There's no mathematical equations and things of that nature. You're looking at the situations that can occur within different companies to understand how they impact the overall company's productivity, ability to realize its goals, whether they're project or operational, and human relations. Okay, so we hope you find the course beneficial, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future. Bye bye.